now.
Are you the host now?
I just claim host so I could record it again. So what do I have to do now?
I think you have to make Loveleen just a co-host, not the host.
Good
And
morning,
then-
Suzanne.
And then you would start up the recording after that.
Let me see. I go to Loveleen's participant. Let me see.
I think that's where it is. Was that where you found it, Loveleen?
Yeah, that way you can also let people
I
in.
can't host. I've been denied the hosting.
Yeah, so
So
you
I
have to
have,
do-
if I make you host again, do I make
no,
her
not
host now?
host, co-host.
Co-host, not host.
How do I do that? Because it's only give me the option of making her the host. Let me see. I can either share screen, which I don't have the screen. Loveleen was going to share the screen.
Oh, yes, yes, somebody else could share screen. Let me see. I'm
I'm
not the
telling
host,
you
but-
about this technology. I share screen first.
I
or-
wanted to try and share screen and it says host disabled participant screen sharing. So what you need to do is
Something I'm
go to the
getting.
participant and allow for screen sharing. Or maybe go to screen, share screen and see.
I
if
share
yours-
screen.
Yes, and does it allow you to let someone else share?
No,
That's-
this is my screen. If I share screen, then it's my screen. It's not her
Yes.
screen.
But-
So
but
I need
there's
to stop
someplace-
share.
There's some place in there, yes, you stop your share, but there's some place in there where you can allow Loveleen to share. You know where that is, Val Fagan? You're not.
But then I have to make her host again.
No,
I'll go
no,
ahead and make her,
No.
no?
no.
Well, first you have to be what you're looking at right now. We're looking at your. It's not your inside your Zoom.
So
That's
I
what
need to stop share.
You stop your sharing, yes.
Stop your share. Yes.
Okay.
Now I think like Sandra was saying, go to participants.
I did that and my choice is only to make her host.
Okay, go down to the share screen.
Okay, hold on.
Oh, I don't know if there's options in the share screen because I'm disabled.
Oh, advanced sharing option. It
Okay,
says how
what are
many
the-
participant can share at the same time. Multiple participant can share simultaneously or all participant can share.
Well, choose any of those because the rest of us aren't going to share. So then choose something like that.
Well,
and-
just say all participants can share. So this way, anyone who would like to share, when we have something to share, then we can do it. All participants, I would do.
I can
Okay.
share now, I think. I think I can share.
Can you?
Can you see
Yes.
my screen?
Yep, yep,
There
we
you
can
go.
see
Oh,
our
good.
screen now.
Okay.
Oh, good. So that's the trick. Did you see that, guys? This is a part of our learning this morning, right?
So
So
now
sorry
really you can go back to recording. You have to start your recording again, but really you
Oh
will
my,
do that.
it's recording.
It's recording now.
Oh, it is, okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Sorry, guys. This is part of my learning process. I've been doing it for a while and still. Go ahead, Loveleen.
Rennie, I'm just going to say real quick that I'm glad you did this because I was having trouble figuring out how to share host too. So
Yeah, there you go. We're all learning together.
that's right.
So this is
Very
part of the
good.
learning process.
You know
Go
what's
ahead.
great? Everybody's got a grin on their face.
So
Because
Loveleen,
what this does is lets us know nobody's going to know it all and we're okay. So all that muddle doesn't matter that's in our brains.
yeah, so Loveleen, what I would appreciate it is before you start your presentation, if you tell us a little bit about yourself, and then you tell us why you decided to choose this topic. Why is this important to you?
Okay, so my name is Loveleen Muhoozi. I've said it many times. I'm from Uganda originally, and recently, well, one of my legs is in UK, another one is in the United States by virtue of marriage. I was in UK recently because work for the United Kingdom government, and as a project manager, I lead on a project of installation of electric vehicle charging infrastructure on the streets of London. So recently, Rini asked me that, are you an engineer? And I said, no, I only lead on a project. So I'm now back in the United States, and I live in Houston with my husband and my family. So this topic has been on my heart and my mind for so many years, and I felt I should share my story on how unforgiveness almost destroyed my life. And I'll just briefly talk about my story as a way of introduction. Some years back, when I was back home, I just finished my O-levels, and I traveled home from the city, capital city, to my parents' home for Easter. And then I was around, I think I was 16 years old then. So when I got home after a 4-hour long journey, I was very tired. So I had my shower and I went to sleep. My mom came to me and asked me that, are you not going to have dinner? And I said, no. And she was like, why? And I said, I'm very tired. I don't want to eat. I want to sleep. And she said to me, if you don't eat, you will die very soon. And I was like, what is she talking about? So because I was tired, I didn't want to ask her anything, so I went to bed. So the next day I asked my mom, what did you mean by what you said yesterday? And she said that she heard that I was HIV positive, and if I don't eat, I will die very soon. And I asked her, who told you that I was HIV positive? And she said, someone told me that you are HIV positive. And I said to myself, how did she come up with this kind of thing? So because I was young then, I didn't really say much to my mom. The next day was Easter, and then Easter Monday, I traveled back to the city. So after a few months, my dad made a way for me to travel to the United Kingdom to pursue my A-levels and then my university education. So I traveled to UK after that. And then that was when I developed hatred for my mom because of what she had said. And what she did and what she told me began to eat me up on the inside. I was young then, and then as I grew into my 20s, I became extremely angry at my mom, and I made a vow that I will never go back home. And then I stayed in the UK. After my university degree education, they expected me to go back home, and I said no. I will try and settle in the UK and stay there because of what she had said. So I stayed in the UK, and for 8 years, I did not go home because of what she had done and what she had said. So at that time, I didn't know why she was doing what she was doing. I didn't know why she was behaving the way she was behaving. And then I decided to confide in my elder brother, and I said to him, this is what my mom did, and this is what she told me, and it is killing me, and I don't know what to do. So my brother now said to me that he's also faced my mom's wrath. She's tested her wrath, and he's been looking for an escape route. They are all wondering why she's behaving the way she's behaving. And we didn't know why she was behaving the way she was behaving until when my brother now decided to do a research on my mother's behavior, only to find that it was her childhood and how she was brought up that was the problem. I didn't know until after the 8 years that I was in the UK. So after my brother said that, and I saw the pain that I was in for 8 years, not able to go home. And I said to myself, so what do I do? He now said that we need to look for a way to manage her behavior. And a few months later, my dad passed. So I was forced to go home for burial. So I went home and I faced my mom, but we didn't really exchange much because we were in the funeral. So we didn't really talk much. And after the funeral, I left because I had left a 1-year-old son in the UK, so I had to rush back quickly. So when I went back, I now embarked on a journey of looking for a way to forgive my mom because my brother had told me the reason behind her behavior. So I now said to myself, if this is how she was brought up is the reason behind it, then we need to look for a way to manage how she behaves and move on. So I had to attend training courses on how to forgive, on how to put myself back on track. And then I decided to forgive my mom. And within that period, I was preparing myself. She sent me a message because she noticed that I was very distant from her. And she asked for an apology. So I decided to forgive her and release her. And that's the reason behind this topic, because it ate me up and it almost destroyed my life for 8 years. 8 years is not 8 days, not 8 months, it's not 8 weeks, it's 8 good years. I was in pain. And during that period, doors shut in my face. So many things that I should have done, I could not accomplish as a result of the anger that I had. And I didn't know how to expel the anger because I was angry from a very young age, at the age of 16, well into my mid-20s, because of what my mom told me. And I said to myself, well, I just have to forgive my mom. And she also asked for forgiveness. And then we embarked on a journey of healing. It took me such a long time to recover from it, but I forgave her. And that's the reason why I came up with this topic, just to help somebody. Maybe my story could touch somebody. There are so many people in bondage as a result of unforgiveness. And that's why I came up with this topic today. I've always wanted to share my story. So this is my first time that I'm talking about this. And each time I remember it, sometimes I cry because I'm still, I don't think I've healed completely. Yes, I go back home every year and I visit my mom, to the point that each time I go, I sleep behind her bedroom, the same bedroom, we share the same bedroom, just to show that we have now moved on from what she said and how she behaves toward me. And then we are now on a different path. So that's my reason for coming up with this presentation.
That's amazing, Loveleen. I mean, I'm just like have goosebumps just listening to you and your story. That yeah, I don't think you're alone in this. I think a lot of us sometimes we harbor resentment and we don't say it and just suffer by ourselves. So thank you. Go ahead, move on.
Yeah, so what is forgiveness? And many psychologists have come up with so many definitions of forgiveness. And forgiveness is a conscious, deliberate decision to release feelings of resentment, of vengeance towards the person or a group that has hurt you or has harmed you, regardless of whether they deserve that forgiveness or not. Forgiveness is the open-heartedness to move forward. It's an acceptance with prejudice. It is saying, I accept it anyway because I'm willing to give my next moment a chance. Forgiveness is to set the prisoner free, especially when you find out that the prisoner actually was you. So what makes it possible, what makes forgiveness possible is not only the willingness to forgive, but the acceptance and the empathy, the ability to see the other person's perspective. Forgiveness is not a blessing that you deliver to somebody. It's not a gift, it's not something that you give to someone or to another person. It is a gift that you give to yourself so that you can move on. Forgiveness is a virtue for the strong, for the brave. Weak people do not forgive. They hide from forgiveness. Forgiveness is an attribute for the strong. Forgiveness is giving yourself another chance to make a new beginning. It is based on a simple word, getting a no when you're expecting a yes. For instance, you might apply for a job and you have all this experience and everything, only to find that, sorry, you didn't make it despite your 30 years of experience, and get a no. And you might find it very difficult to just forgive or even to accept that no. I was in that situation as well. It took me a very long time to accept the word no, or even to know how to say no. It took me a very long time to learn that. So in my turn around, I say, what are the causes of unforgiveness? And that's why I chose that little photograph. It reminded me of so many things, because you wonder, what are the causes of unforgiveness? You ask yourself, should I punish that person? Should I retaliate? Should I fight back, or should I forgive this person? When you have feelings of upset, anger, jealousy, bitterness, disappointment, deep hurt, then that causes unforgiveness. Unforgiveness is when you have feelings of hate, of shame, which are usually a byproduct of denying our stories. Like I said today, this is my first time that I'm telling the story of what my mom did to me after all these years. I said to myself, how will I tell people that my mom said that I'm HIV positive? But I said to myself, I'm not sick anyway, I'm not HIV positive. That's something that she had at the back of her mind. And by the way, when I looked at why she said that, it's because I was traveling to the United Kingdom and she looked for how to crush my destiny, to crush my hopes, to crush my dreams, to crush things that I was looking up to crush whom I was going to become, because she could see that if I go to UK, that would be an opening for me to rise to become what other siblings of mine could not become. So she looked for how to bring me down, and she used those words. But because I was young, they did not crush me that much because I kept going and achieved what I wanted to achieve. So surviving an atrocity should not be seen as something shameful, because I survived my mom's crushing. I survived the bad words that she used. I survived the anger that almost destroyed me. I have survived, and that's why I'm able to sit here and share my story. Now you wonder, if someone has hurt you, why should you forgive? We all go through a lot of things. We forgive because we want to move on. Refusing to forgive, something that I've seen, is just like drinking poison and expect the offender to die. We forgive because it is essential to self-healing. I want to mention to you that after what I went through with my mom and the anger that I had, after a few months, I developed lumps in the breasts. I didn't know how they came about. It was because of the anger that I had harbored within me for so many years. So I first saw the first lump in my breast on the left-hand side breast, and then it kept on growing and grew and grew and grew bigger. And because I had learned about self-healing, I said to myself, I'm not going to go to hospital, because if I go to hospital, they will tell me that I have breast cancer. So I said to myself, I will not go. So I will embark on this journey of self-healing. And before I knew it, one developed on my right-hand breast as well, under my armpit. And it became big. And I said to myself, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to go to any hospital. I will just look for a way to calm down and live a different life so that they can, leave my body the way they came. Because I said to myself, they've not been there. Obviously, something brought them. So I embarked on a journey of self-healing. And I exercised, I changed my diet. I decided to release the anger that I had harbored within me for so many years. And before I knew it, after 5 months, I noticed that the lump in the left hand breast disappeared, and I remained with one in my right hand breast. So one day I went to the hairdressers to do my hair, and she said to me that the hair on your lining is beginning to break. So whatever is disturbing you, you need to just put it on the side and cool down. Otherwise, if it is stress, it's going to kill you. So the moment she said that, I decided to let go. And I said to myself, whatever it is, let it be. I just want to live longer because I have young children. I would like to see my kids graduate from university. I would like to live and become old as well. I don't want to die so young. So I decided to take it easy, release the anger, forgive as many people as I could at that time that I was angry at. And then before I knew it, 2 months later, the one in the right-hand breast as well disappeared. So I just went through that season of self-healing all by myself until I recovered. I never went to any hospital. And I think you are the first people that I've told about this. I didn't even tell my husband about these lumps in the breast. Otherwise, you would have, gotten scared and would have started saying, we need to go to hospital and have to. I said to myself, I'm not going to tell anyone. I'm going to face this myself and let me see how I'll come out of it. And I've survived it. So that's the reason why I'm talking about this anger and unforgiveness. I'm very, very passionate about it. So forgiveness is a powerful weapon. When you use it, when you equip yourself with it, it will help you to free your soul from the self-imprisonment that you find yourself in. Like I mentioned before, I was in bondage, in prison for 8 years, not knowing how to come out of it. Had it been that someone told me, or had it been that I knew what I know today, I would have forgiven my mom as quickly as possible. Forgiveness is freedom. If you want to live a life of freedom, you need to learn to forgive. You need to learn to forgive, and along the way, you find that the weight gets lightened and moving through life becomes easier. To become successful in life, you must cultivate the habit of forgiving those who have hurt you or offended you, not because you've forgotten what they have done, not because they deserve that forgiveness, but you do it for you just to free yourself and move forward. That's why we forgive. Forgiving others is not being weak. You shouldn't see it as being weak or say, oh, forgive this person, they'll think that I'm a weakling. No, it is saying to the offender, the person who has wronged you, that look, I no longer need to waste my time, my energy, my emotions on you and what you did to me. That's what forgiveness is all about. And then in the physical world, we weigh our strength by what we are able to carry. In the spiritual realm, we weigh our strength by what we are able to let go. So your strength is weighed by what you're able to carry in the physical realm. In the spiritual realm, your weight, and rather your strength, is weighed by what you're able to let go. Now, we are going to look on the other side of the coin. We are looking at two sides of the coin here, forgiving other people who have offended you, and then forgiving yourself. You now wonder, why do I have to forgive myself? We forgive ourselves for so many reasons. For not knowing better at the time. That's why we forgive ourselves. We make so many mistakes. When my mom treated me the way she did, I thought that was the best way to raise a child, being so strict, talking to people anyhow. And I passed on similar behavior to my first son. And when he was a teenager, I noticed that it was beginning to affect him until when I knew better. And Angelou Maya said that when you know better, do better. So when I knew better, what I did, I wrote a letter to my son. I wrote him a letter and I told him the reason why I was behaving the way I was behaving, I didn't know better. And I asked for an apology. When I asked for an apology, I now said, I'm going to make it up to you. This is what I'm going to do, A, B, C, D. And I was doing this because I didn't know better. And I'm now going to do A, B, C just to make it up to you. And at the bottom of it, I said, I am sorry. So what I did, went to his bedroom. At that time, he was 16, and I read the letter to him. And after reading the letter to him, I handed it over to him. And I went to my bedroom and I sobbed like a small child and I cried. I cried, and after crying, I felt like as if I was carrying a load on my shoulder, and I felt like as if it had fallen off. And then I stayed in my room for like about an hour. And after that, I felt so light, as if I could fly at that time, because I was carrying, first and foremost, the load of what my mom did to me, and then that burden of not doing what I should have done for my kids, especially that my eldest son. And the fact that I was able to actually come to terms with the fact that I should ask for forgiveness, that alone crushed me. But I was glad that I was able to ask for an apology. It took him time for him to come to terms with the fact that I had said sorry, and I made amends because I had known better. So you forgive yourself for not knowing better at the time. You forgive yourself for giving away your power, especially when you are in, say, an abusive relationship, or maybe at work when you're working with bullies or narcissistic managers, whatever. If you don't take action, that means you are giving away your power. If your partner abuses you and he gets away with it, it means you've given away your power. So you have sometimes, after you've come out of that atrocity or that situation, you need to forgive yourself. You forgive yourself for survival patterns and traits that you picked up when you are enduring trauma. Some of us, we pick up so many things, behavioral patterns, just to survive, especially if we are in an abusive relationship or if we are at work and take it so badly. We look for ways to protect us. And then before you know it, you pick up survival traits and behavioral patterns that are inappropriate, but just to make yourself survive. And when you later on look at your life, you now say to yourself, I think I shouldn't have done this. I think I should have behaved this way, but because I was doing this not to survive well, I forgive myself. Anyway, I was just trying to, to protect myself. So you forgive yourself for those as well. And you forgive yourself for past behaviors that were inappropriate. We've all grown, we go through things, we do things as we grow up. Sometimes there's need for us to forgive ourselves. Forgiveness has got its own health benefits that I have found. It has low levels of depression. People who forgive so fast, they usually don't suffer from depression. It is good for your mental health and well-being, forgiveness. It brings low levels of anxiety and hostility. People who forgive so easily, they have a high level of self-esteem and greater life satisfaction. Now, these are some things that I thought we could look at and put into action if you find yourself trapped in unforgiveness, or if you start to embark on a journey of forgiveness. I think there's some things that I came up with that you need to be honest. Be honest with yourself about what happened to you, especially when forgiveness is needed. Think about what was done to you that hurt you. Think about, you can decide to pretend in front of your friends that all is fine, but behind closed doors, you need to be honest with yourself. Think about what has hurt you that you may be denying. You might turn around and say, well, I'm not really bothered with what my husband did. I'm not bothered by what that woman did. She stole my husband. I think it is fine. Or I'm not really bothered that so-and-so used my idea at work and presented it as her own. You just need to be honest with yourself that this is what has hurt me and I have to look for a way to move away from it. Now, see, this is the same thing. You need to think about what has hurt you, and then you look for how to recover from it. Look for the best timing to forgive. Like I mentioned earlier, when my mom sent me a message after she has noticed that I was so distant from her and requested for forgiveness, I then looked for an opportunity to release her. And that's how I embarked on a journey to forgive my mom. So you have to look for the best timing to forgive whoever has offended. You can't just turn up from somewhere and say, okay, you've hurt me, or you stole my husband, or my husband did this to me, or my partner beat me up, or I was in an abusive relationship, it's fine now. No. It is something, it's a process that you must start slowly and look for how to seek your healing completely. You can decide to talk to someone about it. Speak to a friend, confide in a family member, and tell them that this person hurt me and I'm looking for how to forgive them. And then start from there, but don't do it alone. Don't carry the burden alone. Confide in somebody. You might decide to forgive in your own way. Like I've just mentioned, I wrote a letter to my son and I asked for forgiveness. And by the way, after I did that, I now made a list of whoever had wronged me along the way, except my mom and my son, every other person that has ever done something to me. I wrote their names down and I wrote letters to each one of them. I didn't post the letters, but I was very detailed in what each one did. And then at the bottom of each letter, I wrote, I forgive you. That was my own process. And I took the letters and I put them at the back garden of my house and I burnt them. After burning them, I set myself free. And that's how I forgave people. Some of them I blocked, because forgiving someone doesn't mean you bring them back in your circle. It's just releasing them so that you can free your mind, you can free your heart and keep moving on. So the ones that I've forgiven, some of them, I've blocked them because I don't want to have anything to do with them and I don't want them to hurt me again, but I forgave them. And that was my own process of forgiveness. And lastly, forgiveness is being at peace with the word no, bearing in mind that we can't always get what we want. That's my presentation. Thank you.
Wow, Loveleen. That was such a wonderful presentation. Let me see, do I stop the share or you stop the share, or how do we go back to the, let's see.
I think Loveleen stops to share.
Loveleen, you want to stop the share so we could go back to and discuss this? We're all learning together with this
Did you find it,
Zoom
Loveleen? It should be
thing.
at the bottom if you
Um,
would have
bottom.
Uh-huh.
If you stop share,
just
It
hover
has
your,
given me to pause it. I've paused it. I don't know whether I can stop it.
let me see. Maybe,
well, maybe
Uh,
pause it and hit that and see what happens.
okay, stop
It should be
sharing.
right above or
Okay,
right below the pause.
That did it.
I've stopped it.
Okay. Thank you so much, Loveleen. Oh my gosh, that was so wonderful. That is so, let me see, somebody just, Amy is here. I was just looking at the list and everyone, wow, Loveleen. Thank you so much for sharing your personal story. That is so wonderful. I'm sure each of us connect with your story in some part of it. With that, I'd like to open this up for discussion and let each one of you, whoever was touched by the story, to share your personal journey or what you learned from what Loveleen just shared. Who wants to start? I know Suzanne has something to say about this. Go ahead, Suzanne.
Yeah, certainly. I have gone through that forgiveness with my mom. Her statement to me, that zinger that you had, like you have HIV, my zinger was, you are not autistic, don't even act like it. And that was where I started my storm with her. But I'm happy to report that we've gone to the other side of forgiveness and we've been talking to each other regularly. And while it's not the closest, it is a forgiveness of accepting her where she's at. There was a statement that she said the other day that where I live is too far for her to travel, but she'll travel in the other direction the same amount of distance. And rather than picking the fight with her, I'm like, okay, that's where she's at. I'll accept it.
Thank you. Yes, thank you so much. That is great that
You know,
you're
I
amending
think
your
there's a piece,
relationship. What did you say, Sandra?
I think there's a piece of it when Suzanne brought that up, and probably hooks back into Loveleen, that as mothers, we have a terrible time accepting that maybe we did something wrong, that you ended up with your autism, so I'm going to deny that it's there, or that HIV is so rampant in Africa that they've just decided, okay, that if you're losing weight or you're not eating, you got to have HIV. That, you know, there's such a fear, and so I think a lot of that fear is in the mother themselves, because I hurt when I see my daughter struggle.
Yeah.
And so either I did something or I didn't give enough. I mean, that's all crap. So as we grow through it, but both of your mothers may need to discover for themselves, and they may not be ready to dig down in there and say, oh, I've got some inside work to do, because it's almost a generational thing too, that it's very hard to go against how you were raised. So they're just passing on some of what they were raised in, hopefully milder.
Absolutely. I mean, your story, Loveleen, was so similar to mine. It's their tribe, where they came from.
Yeah, it's so wonderful to listen to this, because I think that as mother, I'm a mom. Sometimes you want to protect your kids, and oftentimes it's uncalled for. I do the same thing with my daughter. Sometimes I would do something and he said, Mom, don't you think I know how to do that? Or don't you think that I don't know how to think, or how to have my own opinion, or how to, you think that they're little kids, that you want to protect them, and you do something for a good reason. You thought it was good for them, and it turned out they don't want that. They said, Mom, I'm an adult. Let me do my things. Why you keep telling me what to do or whatever? Well, I thought that would be helpful, but it wasn't. But anyway, yes, thank you so much for your share. Binta, you're next.
Oh, Loveleen, this was so powerful. I was like, I had tears in my eyes just listening to your story. And I'm just so happy that you are here with us. And I'm actually like so proud, to listen to you and to learn what you've gone through in your life. And everything you said is so true. I mean, every word you said is like, yes, 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 yes. Forgiveness is medicine for the soul. And like you say, you do it not because you're forgetting what the person said, but you're doing it because you want to free yourself from the prison you are in. And for me, I have to learn to forgive too. I mean, I can say that I grew up in a very loving family, but the cultural conditioning have hurt me so much. My culture did so much to me that hurt me so much as a little girl that I still have, I can't even tell you what it is. You probably already know what it is, but that is the kind of thing that is going to be with me for the rest of my life. And I've learned to forgive and say that, well, it's not just me. It was done to my mom, to her parents, to everything. So it's not just me. I have to learn to forgive that, to let go of saying that to me, to let go of just holding on to that. But the beautiful thing that you just said, which I'm probably going to do, I'm just going to write a letter and talk about and explain about all those things that have been done to me, and then go burn it and just let it go. I learned to forgive and say, okay, everything is fine because it's not their fault. It was also done to them and everything. But forgiveness is medicine for the soul, and especially within the family members too. We have to learn to forgive our sisters, our brothers, or they have to learn to forgive us. That's what I'm experiencing with my family members right now. Some people are not speaking because of some silly things, and they're not forgiving each other. And I'm telling you, just have to let go, let go. This is not just let go. It's forgiveness is everything, but it also has to do with self-awareness also. When you are aware of what is happening within yourself, that is when you learn to say, I don't like the way my soul is suffering within this space that I'm in. So you learn to let go. You learn to let go of self-awareness. That's why meditation comes in. That's why when taking the time to be yourself, taking the time to just be silent a little bit and just learn and just listen within and learn what is going on. That's when you realize so many things. So I'm really grateful to be here to listen to you, and you remind us to just let go of the loads, the backpacks, the heavy backpacks that we're carrying. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Binta. And Binta, it's so true and lovely. At some point in our lives, we've been hurt, all of us here, at the different states of our lives. Either it's from our partner, from our friends at work, from people in our walk of life have hurt us. I don't think a lot of times when people hurt us, it's not on purpose necessarily, but we harbor resentment, and we don't sometimes say or approach them about all this. But as Binta said, and Loveleen said it too, that forgiveness is really for us to free ourselves. They may not be aware of what they're doing, that they're hurting us, but we need to free ourselves. It's really important for us to move on. Loveleen, you have it for 8 years in your life, and like it's time to let it go and be free, and so you can do other things that are more useful in your life. So yeah, that's amazing, Binta and Loveleen. What a great presentation. And Kathleen, you're next.
Loveland, that was such a beautiful, moving presentation. I feel so emotional right now. It brought up a lot of feelings. I too struggled with issues with my mom, and had really separated myself from my mother. I didn't have a close relationship with her at all until she developed dementia. And that changed her personality, and she became the sweet, kind mom that I always wanted. So, but in the meantime, I had started doing 12-step work through Al-Anon. And you learn a lot about forgiveness in the 12-step program, forgiving others, forgiving yourself. So I still had a lot of work to do because there was a lot of harm done to me. And I did learn to forgive her. It was made easier because she had dementia and she was really sweet. And I got the mom back that I always wanted. And I always said, I'm never going to be like that to my children. And I think there were moments when I was my mom. I think that it's nearly impossible not to pass that on when you have been raised in by a toxic parent. And so that began my journey of forgiveness through the 12-step program. And then I started in later years, becoming really involved in yoga, and that helped with forgiveness. And so did A Course in Miracles. A Course in Miracles was a tremendous breakthrough in learning forgiveness. When you recognize that we're all one, that there is no separation, that is really helpful. And recently I started going to First Center of Spirituality, I think it is called, in New York City. And it's based on the teachings of Louise B. Hay. And Loveleen, you talked about, becoming sick, and lumps in your breast cancer is a very common result of anger and holding on to resentments. And so she talks a lot about that. And so for decades, there's been all these teachings that have come into my life that have helped me. And so now I'm really beginning to master forgiveness. And unfortunately, my children know nothing of forgiveness. And so they hold on to resentments for any little mistake that I've made, and they can't seem to get past it. And I wish that I could just teach them everything that I know, everything that I've learned, so that they don't have to live for years with these resentments. And it's heartbreaking to me, now that I know what I know, to see what they don't know and how it's hurting them. And life is short. It's just so short. And I wish I could spare them the years of holding on to this anger. It's so useless and it's so pointless, and you can't get that time back. You just can't ever get it back. So it's heartbreaking. It's beautiful to learn this. And I'm so happy that I have this knowledge, and I still work on it. It's a lifelong practice, but it is so difficult to see that in my children and not have them accept this wisdom from me, because you do gain wisdom as you get older. And we're not the same people we were when we were younger. If I could do it all over again, knowing what I know now, I would never say some of the things that I've said or behaved in some of the ways that I did. And one of the things that I also learned was that everyone's always doing their best.
Mm.
We're always doing our best with the knowledge that we have at this time in our lives. So thank you for this. It was beautiful.
Thank you so much, Kathleen. Yeah, I think learning forgiveness is a lifelong effort. It's a work in progress. We're not always aware of it. So I think the first thing is to be aware. So this session, Loveleen, her sharing is just amazing. We all need to be reminded of all this. So thank you, Kathleen. Tamara, you're next.
Yes, Loveleen, this was a great presentation. Really got me thinking, because it is a generational thing, like Sandra was saying, like it comes down generation after generation. And I was actually talking to my stepmother last night about this forgiveness and, changing our thought process because of what we've learned through our lives. And you guys were talking exactly about this. Like, so I was telling her, like, I unfortunately passed it down to my daughter, even though I did my best not to. And it's a pendulum, this is what my mom did. So I was going to do the exact opposite, and not knowing at the time that there's this middle ground, but we're all on our own journey. And as you said, Kathleen, your children, you could see this pain that they're going through. And I just love, Loveleen, that you wrote a letter to your son. Like, I'm gonna do that. Like, it's just so, just letting them know that you only knew what you knew at the time. And now that you know better, you're going to do better. And so that's just like so healing. So, and I did a lot of forgiveness work on my whole aunt, and I looked down from my grandma, my great grandma, down to my mom, to me, and how this pendulum just kept going back and forth and back and forth. And now it's when it comes to my kids, like, I've been trying to break this family curse since they were born, and now because we've learned so much about awareness and forgiveness and service and just so much, it's finally here. We're evening it out, and it's such a good feeling to know that we can forgive and move on, and then we can heal down the line. But and know that as long as we give our children that positive energy and that knowledge in whatever way we can, not forcing it on them, just loving them where they're at, and like my youngest is married, and she's having a hard time right now. And I said, and my natural was, oh, let me fix that. And instead of doing that, I was like, do you want some coaching around that? And she said, no. And I said, okay. And I just listened. And that's all I could do at the time. I pray, lots of prayer. So, this is just totally hitting home right where I needed it. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Tamara. Yes, absolutely. We all sometimes become our own mother. We become the thing that we don't want. But thank you so much for sharing. And Amy, you're next.
Oh, sorry. Wow. Yeah, no, this is so powerful right now. And when I saw the subject today, I said, I have to get on this call. I've not been able to make a lot of these calls. And oh my gosh, I think we could probably talk for 3 hours about all of this, but I can relate so much with what everybody's saying about, with their mom. When my oldest daughter was born, I actually wrote in my journal that I was never ever gonna, treat her like my mom did, and be sarcastic and put her down, and just these things that I think they are generational. But yeah, there were definitely moments when it's like I just slipped into that, I guess, what I was taught or what I saw. And it's like knowing then how I was, thought what I was supposed to do to be a mom. Like, this is what you do, and you're firm and you're strict, and, you don't allow, them to get over on you, I guess is how my mom would say. And I think that there was just not the level of understanding then that we have now, you know, as far as in parenting. There's so many resources now, even that I see that I wish were around when my kids were younger, that I could have, you know, been able to incorporate. But, you know, the whole thing is now, this is where we are now, and we can only go from here forward. So, but yeah, one of my favorite quotes, and I'm not 100% sure if it's a Buddhist quote or not, but and I'm sure most of you might have heard it, is that holding anger and resentment for someone else is like carrying a hot coal in our hands and thinking it's gonna, you know, burn the other person. So just thank you so much, Loveleen, for this topic today, because it is like we're holding ourselves captive by you know, holding these things against other people. So thank you so much, everybody, for being here and the support.
Thank you so much, Amy, for your share. We all only can do what we know at the time. You know, we're doing the best we can, but now that we're aware, we need to be more proactive about that. Val, you're next. I know she has to go to work at 8 o'clock, so I always just want to hear from her.
For me, forgiveness, I think even last year I did a lot of forgiveness work with my sister, and it just happened last year. Things that I had absolutely no clue, but things that came up to the surface in some circumstances that I had to confront her to be able to forgive her. So there was no more hidden things on our new relationship that we were developing from now on. And I am so grateful that, you know, since my young teenage, I'm a peace and love type person, you know, make love, no war, please. So we can all live in coexist in harmony. That's who I am. And so carrying along with all the journey that I've done, studying emotion with the backflower remedies, knowing that emotion can destroy you, it can kill you. I've experienced that in my own body as well. And so as an individual and somebody with a mind, said, what do I want to do with this? You know, Dr. Joseph Murphy said to his patients, do you want to live or do you want to die? You have to make a decision of this. And so making the decision to forgive, yes, it's an element of freedom. And it is healing tremendously at the cellular level, because we're all energy, and not holding any grudges to anyone. You know, keep your friend close and your enemy closer. I like to, not that I like, but when it happens, I don't go and harm more my enemies. I do no harm. So that is my take. Lots of love.
Thank you so much.
Meditating on love today. So I'm so grateful, Loveleen. Sorry, I want to congratulate you on this presentation, because I have to say, from the very first time that I saw you speak, I'm like, this woman has something under that we don't know yet. We can't force it. We can't, but one day it's going to come out beautifully. And congratulations, Loveleen. I just love you talk about it.
Thank you so much, Val, for your share and your compliment for Loveleen. I know you have to work at 8 and we are at the top of the hour. So if anyone need to leave, you know, feel free to do so. But I'd like to give everyone a chance to say something, to voice your message. And Omeka, you're next.
Yeah, hey, I had to take a walk because my internet was so in and out. I was like, that was pretty interesting. The topic of forgiveness, your internet is in and out. So yeah, that's how I feel energetically, since everything is energy. And yeah, I'm going through like severe, that's an interesting adjective, severe forgiveness, and letting go of anger, and I'm in my mind, I don't quite I haven't processed it all the way, and I'm working through different things right now. But seeing how it has manifested in my body tells me that I am very, very angry. I am very, very scared. Like I don't really use the word death a whole lot, but scared to death about taking care of my mom and about me. It's just some deep seated emotions and manifestations and forget. And the way I talk to my mother, I'm like, okay, what's really going on? And resentment and just not believing that I can really be her caregiver. Like, who are you to take care of somebody? You know, like you got to be kidding. And so just bringing up the different thoughts and feelings I have about my forgiveness. I think is mainly with myself, forgiving myself, and yeah, I forgive myself, and I a lot go back to the Ho'oponopono. However it comes, I love myself. I forgive myself. I'm sorry. I thank you. To me and everyone else in my life, and yeah. So I've created this acidic condition, and I'm like, girl, I'm like, and I keep doing this, and I'm like, all right, it's time to let it go again. It's all right. And yeah, just kind of screaming inside, but moving through, taking a walk right now, and my feet and my hands. I'm like, that's a real giving and receiving and feeling stable and type of they're not organs, but appendages and my skin. I'm like, man. So yeah, it's interesting to go through life and work out stuff as you're thinking about it and transforming. So thank you. Thank everybody for what they said. I was in and out. So, but I got enough to feel love and healing from everyone. And thank you, Loveleen, for your presentation and your story. And yeah, great to be here. Okay.
Oh my God. I just want to say how much I admire you, how much I just see how strong you are and your courage. It's not easy to do what you do, but you continue to do it, showing love to your mom. And just thank you so much for sharing your story. We're all are with you. We support you, and so grateful you're here today. And just continue to love your mom, despite you're feeling that and the resentment and everything. And we're here for you, just so that you know.
Thank you.
Anyway, Faith, you're next, and then after that we'll have Arlene to share. Can you talk, Faith? Okay, she may not be able to say. So Arlene, you're next. Oh no, wait a minute. I see Faith now. She's just on mute.
No, my screen is cracked, so sometimes it doesn't respond right away to touch. But I did want to say I thought our host speaker did a beautiful job. Her presentation, her PowerPoint presentation was wonderful and be worth going over again. And forgiveness is something we all have to learn. It's certainly a big one on the table for me, for lots of folks, because sometimes when we have an issue in our life, if we don't recognize it, we seek it out, and then that just gives us multiple people to forgive. And if we could learn the lesson and forgive ourselves, maybe we don't have to add anyone else to that particular column of anger. And I also wanted to say that I think it's a process. I think everybody has a different timetable for healing, because it is healing. And I think the reason that we have so much anger is because we're injured. And when we're injured, depending on how deep the injury is, can affect how we see it, how we even tell the truth about recognizing it, how it shows up in our life, and how long it takes to heal from it. I don't think there's forgiveness without self-healing. I think maybe that would be like a false thing. I think you have to heal in order to forgive. And yet it's one of those catch-22s. You have to forgive in order to heal. So it's kind of some kind of special mojo that you have to work at on both levels. And I think that the reason that forgiveness can be so challenging is because forgiveness usually involves not just injury, but loss. And that involves heartache and fear and trust. You know, you don't trust yourself anymore. You don't trust the person who injured you. And sometimes you don't trust your faith or spirituality because everything fell out. And it can be very confusing, and it can be quite a journey and a walk to get back to a place where you're whole. And it's the time thing, but I think we all have that journey in one degree or another. And I want to thank our hostess for being so brave with her story and bringing in a really important subject, maybe one of the most important we have to learn of our lifetime.
Thank you, Faith. Thank you so much for your share. I know we're already past the hour here. I'm going to give Arlene a chance to say something and then turn it back to Loveleen to close this out. Go ahead, Arlene.
Hi, I said most of what I had to say by typing. I typed to everybody, but I just want to say thank you, Loveleen, for your bravery and for your courage. I see this as a conversation on forgiveness, but I see it also as a conversation on courage, because it's very courageous of you to not only walk through it, but to confront it. It's so much easier to just leave it on the side and ignore it. And I think a lot of what I heard people saying was, you know, they began confronting the challenge. And, you know, it's about allowing, you know, and I just applaud you for confronting it, because it's hard and it's a burden and it hurts, and then allowing it, you know, allowing yourself to go on the journey. And I have 2 kids, and like I said, I want my kids to, you know, live without challenge and just live courageously. But we have to also remember that we've grown so much conversation and from these challenges. And sometimes we just have to allow our kids to go through things too, so that they can grow and come out on the other side as amazing, loving people like Loveleen and Tamara and everybody else on this call. So if I can contribute anything, it would just be, remember the journey and allow, you know, others to take it. We don't always have to, you know, offset their journey, and try to give them the information on the front end.
Thank you, Arlene. It's always so good to see you here, and for your contribution. You always have good advice for all of us. So thank you for that. And I know we're past the hour here. This is such a wonderful topic. I just want to make sure that everyone has had a chance to say something, and I think we did that. So I'm going to turn it back to Loveleen with her beautiful message. Thank you so much, Loveleen. Go ahead, and if you'd like to close this out by saying your last word for this group, so we could, yeah, go ahead.
Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity, by the way, to share my story. And I think it's the same story that I wanted to share with Joey. It's just that I've never had the opportunity to sit down with her and talk to her in great detail, so we can see how we can take this story forward. But thank you so much for giving me this space to talk about what has hurt me and what almost destroyed my life, and see how someone maybe can pick a leaf out of my story. And one thing that I learned, by the way, only recently, we only noticed that my mom is a narcissist. She's narcissistic. And at the time when I was growing up, I didn't know that she was a narcissist. It wasn't just recently that we just sat down with my brother and only to find actually that she's a very chronic narcissist. And the moment we knew that, so we now learned how to manage her behavior, and we are all happy when she kicks off. We know what to do. We know where to go and hide until she calms down. And we've noticed that because of her childhood and how she was brought up. The moment that monster kicks off, we know where to go until she comes back to herself, which is a very good thing. Now, the point that there's nothing that my mom will tell me today that will make me angry because I've taken a closer look at her. And it's the same thing that I use on other people too. Now, I find it very easy to forgive people because when someone tries to annoy you or to upset you or to hurt you, they are not aiming that at you. Sometimes they have things in their rucksack, things, baggage that they've been carrying, and they were looking for someone to unleash it on. And maybe you might find yourself in a wrong place at the wrong time, and then you find yourself as a victim. So from now onwards, I'm only giving this advice. If someone tries to hurt you or to harm you, take a closer look at who they are. Maybe they are hurting as well. And if you can help them so they can release that burden that they are using to hurt other people. And that's my message to you.
Thank you so much, Loveleen. That is so true, so true. They're hurting themselves oftentimes. Thank you again for this wonderful message and for all of you here to be on this platform. We're here to support each other. That's why I want to give everyone a chance to say something. So thank you so much. Next week, Binta will be our host. So make sure you guys are back ready to listen to Binta. Thank you again.
From Africa.
Thank you again, and have a great weekend, you guys. And I'll see you back here next Thursday. So thank you.
So
See you guys later.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Everybody have a great day.
Take care.
You too.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Peace and blessings. Bye-bye.